station. Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox interim manager Chad Tracy told reporters today that Garrett Crochet has had a minor setback, experiencing lat tightness, putting his recovery on pause for now. Red Sox Guardians series finale underway. Sox already up 1-0. Jarren Duran with a solo home run. The San Antonio Spurs are your Western Conference champions in the NBA. They beat the Thunder 111-103 in Game 7 last night. Victor Wembanyama, 22.7 rebounds in the win. Spurs will face the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. Game 1 Wednesday night at 8:30. And the Stanley Cup Final is set. The Carolina Hurricanes will host the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 1 of that series on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And the Patriots restructured the contract of guard Mike Mwenu. They will pay him $10 million guaranteed in exchange for a $7.5 million pay cut. Pats have an open OTA practice coming up on Tuesday. Christian Gonzalez was absent from the last open OTAs, but according to Mike Reese on Sunday, Gonzalez has not participated in any voluntary team activities as of late, as he is eligible for a contract extension. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by the 99. Visit the 9s this weekend for their double bonus card special. Buy a $25 gift card and receive 2 $5 bonus cards. You gotta love the 9s. I'm Matt Dolph on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next look at the headlines with Mark Dondero at 3 o'clock.
Boston Talk Sports.
Break me.
We all know what, but we won't say what. Yeah, worst take on these airwaves in the last 24 hours.
We may not take a call today.
The Sports Hub. No matter what team, no matter what player, no matter what coach, no matter what game, it all happens here. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Great final in the NBA looming. I can't wait for this. I cannot wait to see how it plays out. And I thought it was a very interesting development watching the San Antonio Spurs do what they did in the last few games here. It upset me in ways when thinking about the Celtics. I know the Spurs were the beneficiary of some really good luck in the NBA draft lottery. Obviously getting Victor Wembanyama, but also getting Dylan Harper. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think they were not in line to get the number 2 pick last year, but the lottery gave it to them. And they were able to draft Dylan Harper, who looks like a stud. So I think it's going to be a really fascinating series. The Knicks, I understand, are white hot. I don't know how they're going to compete with that thing I just watched last night and that team that's playing as well as any team, including the Knicks. That was the defending champion that they took down in impressive fashion on the road in a Game 7. I understand that they were hurt, the Thunder. Maybe if they had A.J. Mitchell, maybe if they had Jaden Williams, it would have been a different series, different outcome. But when you talk about what they did and who they did that with, really good. Really impressive and really made me think about the Celtics. And this is one aspect of the Spurs that I think needs to be addressed right away. Victor Wembanyama is what you'd want your superstar to be. I actually don't enjoy watching him all that much. He's such a freak. I don't think the way he plays is that visually pleasing. And I say freak in a good way. He's just a freak talent. But I don't really enjoy watching all the limbs moving around like that. It's just so easy for him. It's incredible to see the production he can give his team on the floor. But I'd rather see a smaller guy jumping over people, twisting and contorting his body in the lane. I'd rather watch, despite my distaste for the player, I'd rather watch Kyrie Irving. I'd rather watch Michael Jordan. I'd rather watch LeBron James. I have immense respect for Wemby, but I just don't love watching the way he plays, even though he is just a freak of nature in terms of talent. I mean, this is a great thing for the NBA, even though the NBA is messed up. Victor Wembanyama and the Knicks. How could you ask for the best player in the league right now and the New York market? The hub of basketball, the Mecca. It's great. And to boot, you have two teams that are white hot about to go at it in the NBA Finals. I cannot wait for this. I think there will be close games. I think it will be a great series. Another thing I like about this is it sort of goes against conventional wisdom. Why are the Spurs all of a sudden in the NBA Finals? That is not a typical path for an NBA franchise. Usually you have to go through the trials and tribulations before you make it to the finals, especially when you overcome a Game 7 scenario on the opposition's home floor, and that opponent is the defending NBA champions. They're ahead of schedule, and you don't usually see that in the NBA. I can't wait for this matchup. And I just wish, it taught me one thing. The semi for the conference finals taught me one thing that I can't ignore. And it's that the Boston Celtics aren't on the level of those teams that I just watched. The Knicks, the Thunder, and the Spurs. They're not on that level. If there was any question about whether or not they were on that level, it was wiped away during these playoffs and the conference finals specifically. And I really can't believe that all of us fell for it so hard the way we did during the regular season and the playoffs. Even when it started. Even when they were trying to, finish off the Sixers and they were up 3-1. They are not close. They are not on that tier. And you know what I liked most about what the Spurs did? Who they had out there, who they featured on the court. I loved what they did. They didn't look at Dylan Harper and say, he's a rookie. They didn't look at some of their younger guys and try to manage them or get them acquainted with the system or slowly ease them in. No. This guy's a baller. He's our focal point. He's playing. I love that they did that. And I love that they won doing that. That's what you should do. If you got a guy that can play, why can't he figure out the NBA in his first season? Get him out there and see if he can be an impact player for you. Doesn't have to take over, but see if he can be an impact guy for you. I love what they're doing. I love the fact that this team, they just went through legit superstars. They went through SGA, two-time MVP. They went through Anthony Edwards. They have, somehow, in short order, they've become so deep, so talented, so ballsy. The shots they were making last night were ridiculous. The three-pointers on the road against the best team in the West. The best team we've seen. A lot of people, myself included, I was buying into it. I thought the Thunder were this century's version of the Chicago Bulls. As ridiculous as that sounds. They've got dudes. You look at their roster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. At least 9 guys that can contribute, that were significant contributors. And I'm putting Luke Cornett on the list just because of the block. It's incredible what they were able to put together through the draft. Now, I understand. Any idiot would have known to draft Victor Wembanyama. But I can't wait. I think this is great for the league. Jalen Brunson going up against this. I don't know how Brunson is going to have his way the way he's been having his way when you put Castle opposite him, when you put Harper opposite him. I don't know how he doesn't give Jalen Brunson fits. Now, I respect Brunson. I've seen what he's done, obviously. Celtics couldn't figure him out despite the fact they had guys that were longer, bigger, better athletes. Jaylen Brown couldn't shut him down. Castle has 4 more inches than Brunson. He's a better athlete than Brunson. And I think his mentality defensively is what you need to have in order to guard a guy like Jalen Brunson. So, I'm fascinated by this, and I think it's great for the league. I think the league's in an awful place. I think it was good for the NBA that the Thunder did not make it after all of the rhetoric and narrative and conversation about SGA and the foul baiting and the flopping. I don't think putting him back on the biggest stage was the best thing for the league. And I think, it was fascinating to watch the Thunder get rattled a little bit by the national commentary. And if you don't think that happened, it did. Now, SGA figured it out last night, played a pretty good game overall. But that team was rattled. They got knocked off their spot a little bit once everybody started to highlight what SGA was doing. Probably a little bit of an embarrassment there. Little second guessing, and they were neutered a little, and that whistle that they had been getting went away. They were not getting the favorable whistle last night, or really for most of that series, especially after people started highlighting SGA's thing, flopping. And the Spurs took advantage of it. I mean, impressively took advantage of it and they were just unafraid of whatever the Thunder had to offer. Unafraid. And it's impressive. I have them as the favorites. I know the Knicks, again, they are a formidable opponent. I was one of the first people to realize that the Knicks were real. But I just can't, based on what I've seen in the opponent that they beat. I don't know how you stop Wemby. I don't know how the Spurs and their intensity aren't going to find a way to at least slow down Jalen Brunson and then put the series in the hands of OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart. And they're good players, and I respect them. But based on what I saw the Spurs do and the way they played together, I can't imagine that this is going to be a situation where the Knicks just roll. Despite the fact they've got more experience, more playoff experience. 617-779-0985. I'm just so impressed with what the Spurs were able to do. And I'm impressed with Wembanyama and his mentality and the way he imposed his will, not just on the Thunder, but on his teammates. Impressive. 617-779-0985. More on how this relates to the Celtics. June 1st is looming. A.J. Brown, we're going to talk about that. And something has come, I'll say it this way. I have developed an opinion in association with A.J. Brown and the Patriots that it's new. And they are now in a place they hadn't been. I'll explain. Mark Dondero here, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports.
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So thanks for taking my phone call. So, there's a lot of people talking about experience. I think we need to throw that out the window now, because a lot of people was going with OKC, and generally in every sport, like, when it comes to a specific team that has like championship pedigree and, they have the quality players and the coaching staff, you say, oh, I picked this team to win the series because of experience. Well, the San Antonio Spurs have put that to rest to show you that you don't need experience to go far in this league. And that's in any type of sports. And if we're going to go that way, then we should be going with the Knicks because of experience. We have Mike Brown, that's a championship coach that won with the San Antonio Spurs and Golden State. So if we're going to go that way, we can go Knicks, or we can go Harrison Barnes that won with the Golden State Warriors, would go Spurs. But all that's out the window now. So let's just bury the experience word now. How do you feel about that?
So I'm not ready to do that yet, Brandon. I don't think there's been enough examples of a team that hasn't gone into the playoffs and had some heartbreak and got over the adversity of losing to only come back and get to the top of the mountain and win the championship. I haven't seen that happen enough where I'm willing to just toss that aside. I like what you're saying. I kind of like how you're trying to, get ahead of everybody with that mentality. And it wouldn't be bad if I would kind of like to see that happen, where the Spurs, I think that would make things more interesting. If the Spurs win this championship with Harper, who's a rookie, and Castle, who's in his second year, whatever it is, and Wemby, who's barely 23 years old, I mean, that would be good for the league. And this is again why I'm frustrated with the Celtics. Okay, now I understand that Jordan Walsh isn't Dylan Harper. But what I don't understand is why you have a hesitancy to employ some of these younger players sooner than they've done. The Celtics have been a championship organization the last however many years. Call it 7 years. Okay? 7 to 8 years. Why couldn't you put some of these younger guys in positions to succeed? Not out of desperation, but because this guy is a young stud baller who can defend his tail off. Why can't you get those guys on the floor sooner and make them contribute? It's basketball. Teach them the system, get them out there. I mean, was Jordan Walsh on this team when Caleb Martin was cooking you left and right in that series back in the day against, what was it, the Heat and the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals? I mean, okay. If he's not ready to play, don't draft him. Especially if you're a win-now type of team. Try to draft guys that you can put in and play. I love what the Spurs did. I love that they put these guys, these rookies, these young players on center stage and said, go win me a Western Conference championship. And they did. More NBA teams should do that. I mean, it shouldn't be baseball. You shouldn't have to sit a guy and ease him in for 3-4 years before he's ready to get some real playoff minutes in the NBA. I mean, teach him during the entire useless, meaningless regular season how to be ready for the playoffs. And the rookies should be ready for the playoffs if they can ball. If they're not competent offensively, well, coach them to be. You get an entire regular season. Put them in there, provide them with a role, and get them in a position to succeed come playoff time. And that's why the Celtics, I think, weren't ready for the moment this spring, in part. Because all those guys were so green. They hadn't played. They hadn't been a part. They hadn't been the focal point of a playoff operation when they could have been. I mean, if you get a guy that can ball and can bring something to the table, like Walsh defensively, get him in there earlier. See what he's got. Steve's in Fall River. Hey, Steve.
How are you?
Good.
I like your analysis on the way this Wemby plays. He is a little goofy looking, but then you'll see the result and you have to have like a double take. Like, okay, he just made a, nice play to the rim. In the meantime, I want to talk about the Red Sox.
Yeah.
they're not dead yet. It's June 1st is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They've shown flashes of a good bat over the last 10 games. Prior to that, they had a good run with pitching. We're still waiting for the ace to come back. We've got a few other guys that come in.
You saw that Crochet just got shut down, right, Steve? It was
Well, all right. Well, not for the year.
Well, for the foreseeable future.
All right. They got a very deep pitching and there's other guys coming back. I love the setup, Slayton, Whitlock, and you can't get better than that. Slayton, Whitlock, and the closer is top of the range, and guys are underperforming. Jaron Duran had a 268 May. Granted, he's only 214 because he had an abysmal March and April, but we're here. We're not dead in the water. Since Cora left, I'm sure their winning percentage is way better, and they're not completely out of the wild card. So if you hear without any context, you think they're going to throw this season away. I don't foresee that happening, and they still have the trade deadline. Whatever happens there.
Yeah.
One other thing.
Yep.
Most people keep talking in the past as if had they just signed Betts, Bogarts, and Devers, they'd be all set. They would have had a different result. Please look at what those guys are doing and add Bregman into it.
Okay.
It's a pile of junk, and it's $500 million in payroll. So that's not a very good thing.
All right, thanks for the call, Steve. I think Steve is missing the point. I think he's completely missing the point here.
I love his optimism.
I do too, and I hope he's right. I hope he's right that they're not dead. I think they're dead. I think they're dead, okay? And he's missing the point. The point, Steve, isn't to look at Betts and Bogarts and Bregman and see what they're doing and their numbers and say, see? Look, they're not performing. So you're not missing anything by not having them on the team. No, you're missing the point. What you did by allowing those players to move on, to walk away, to not, re-sign, whatever you want to call it, you broke your brand. And that is why I think they are dead. I think the brand is broken. I don't think there's any coming back from that. Not until they show significant strides to repairing the damage that's been done and trying to get back to what they once were. So I don't care how deep, air quotes, the pitching staff is. I think anything that happens negative will be exacerbated because there is a preconceived notion that this team is snake bitten and that they suck and that they don't want to win the way they used to want to win and all of the above. So I think not re-signing Betts and not bringing back Bogarts and trading, Rafael Devers for nothing. Yes, they might not be producing to this high level, but I think by not doing what you used to do and prioritizing the stars or trying to replace players like that, you have broken your brand and ruined your organization. So my point is, it's not really important how those players are playing, because I can live with that, Steve. I could live with them trying to sign guys and it just not working out. I could live with Carl Crawford. I could live with Pablo Sandoval. I could live with Adrian Gonzalez. Didn't work out, but they tried. And then it becomes, okay, how do we get it to work out? Were they the wrong guys? Were they not the fit that you needed to have for a player playing for the Red Sox here in Boston? Was it a bad fit on paper? Fenway Park? They didn't. Whatever it was, we can figure that out. What we can't figure out is how do we make the owner care like he used to care? How do we make the owner spend like he used to spend? How do we fix the brand? That's what we can't figure out without major, major change. See, the difference is the Celtics, I don't think they're on the same tier as OKC, as San Antonio, as New York, as I just outlined. But their brand isn't broken. Brad Stevens in one weekend could change everything and put the Celtics right back in the conversation with Tatum and Brown. Right back. And that's what we can do here. We can talk about what should they do? Should they go sign Giannis? Do they break up Tatum and Brown? Should they trade Brown? Are there guys you can bring in to pair with Tatum and Brown? We can talk about all those things, and that's viable. That's real. I don't think it's real to do that for the Red Sox because I think they're screwed. I don't think they want to operate the way they used to operate the business. So talking about what they need, I think they know what they need. See, what I'm saying is I think they know what they need. I don't think they have interest in going out and getting it. I think the Celtics are genuinely trying to figure out what they need and how they can get back to that level and get over the top again. They're trying to figure it out. When they figure it out, or when they think they figured it out, they'll go for it. They'll go try to get it. Same with the Patriots. I think they're trying to genuinely figure out what to do to put us back in the Super Bowl and hopefully this time win it. The Red Sox aren't trying. I don't think they're trying to figure that out. No bleep signing a star hitter will help the lineup, help the production offensively. I don't think they want to do it, or else they would have been in on some of these guys, or else they would have sped to the moon and back on some of these players. They wouldn't have let Kyle Schwarber go. You don't think they knew Kyle Schwarber was nasty? You don't think the scouts in the Red Sox organization took one look at his hands and his wrists and realized how special they are and how special of a bat and how good he is hitting the baseball? I don't think we need that guy. No, they knew they needed that guy. They didn't want to pay him. This isn't a situation, the Red Sox aren't in a situation like, and I'll just use SGA as an example because they were just, on TV last night. He was the 2-time MVP, whatever. I genuinely think when the Thunder made the trade with the Clippers to acquire SGA, okay, and SGA went from the Clippers to the Thunder in the Paul George trade, however long ago that was. I genuinely don't think the Clippers knew what they had. If they knew, 2-time back-to-back MVP, they wouldn't have traded him for an aging Paul George. I don't think. I genuinely don't think the Clippers knew what they had when they said, all right, we're going to let this player go and move on. When the Red Sox let Kyle Schwarber move on, I think they knew what they had. They just were uninterested in keeping him. So that's the difference. 617-779-0985. Carlos is in Worcester. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. So the first thing I think the Celtics should do is fire Mazzulla because he's one of the worst head coaches. He's right up there with Kenny Atkins from Cleveland. Like, the guy's horrible. You're not going to win games chucking up threes. As you can see, San Antonio Spurs, they're young, but they got the mentality of, hey, let's go in there, let's beat these guys, let's not take our foot off the pedal, let's not chuck up threes when we need a basket, let's go, let's take it, let's drive it in. Like, they got an old school mentality. Celtics don't even got that. And another thing is that Tatum, he's not even he's a superstar. I understand he's a very, very good player, but he just don't have that mentality. And Brown does, but Brown just spews off his mouth. So that's the first thing that they got to do. I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know.
All right. So I'm going to tell you, we're going to go to break. That's a good call, Carlos. I'm going to tell you something else that I saw last night that I juxtaposed with the Celtics that I think matters. I think it matters. And I think it's a major development for the NBA, the Spurs, the league, and like I said, the Celtics. We'll get into that next. 617-779-0985. It's Mark Dondero on 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5, the Sports.
showed me something with his intensity last night. And not just last night, throughout the entire series, throughout the entire playoffs, elbowing a guy, getting, ejected. Not that that was a good thing. But I like to see the emotion. I like to see a little ferocity. And I think that's something that the Celtics lack. This is not an indictment on Jason Tatum. He is what he is. And for those of you that know me, you probably aren't surprised to hear that I appreciate some intensity, some emotion and passion, which is not what I typically see from Jason Tatum. Again, this is not an indictment on Tatum. He's a great player, a fabulous team player. I love Tatum's game. But I do think there is something to be said for intensity and being a ferocious competitor outwardly. And getting in somebody's face and not being afraid to foul hard. And creating the culture of not being a team you want to mess with. And I think the Spurs are on their way to doing that. And I think Victor Wembanyama is different than a lot of the other European players that we've seen. I think he's much different than Luka Doncic. I think he's much different than Nikola Jokic. I think he's different than SGA. He's different. And obviously a unicorn in terms of his skill set, his height, and how he can play this game. I'm not saying, I know the NBA hasn't seen the repeat champion and there's no dynasty this decade and all these things. This is going to be the closest you see. Because I think this guy is just unstoppable, and I think he's different in terms of his mentality. I think he is a killer. I think he's a killer. I don't think he's afraid of the moment. I think he's clutch. I think he passes every body language test. And he's a guy you fear. He's a guy you fear. Back to you. Thomas is in the car. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Mark. I had a Celtics-related call, but just to touch on the point that you just made, that's all so true about Wemby, and I think that he breathes that life into his teammates. You can tell that, Stephon Castle and Harper and Champagny, they all play with an edge, and I think that Wemby really breathes that into those guys. But aside from the point of the call, I think that the last 5 seasons that have ended, obviously all ending in disappointing fashion except for when we won it, I think that this offseason is different because I think that this one really, really leaves a bad taste in Steven's mouth. I think that when the season ended in 22, 23, and 25, yeah, it was disappointing, but I think that everyone in the organization and Brad really looked at it we are, able to contend and we can go win it, next year. But, this year, I think we're getting a real kick in the nuts, losing the first round of Philly. That's something that's going to fire up Stevens. He doesn't like losing, and I feel really good about the outlook of the front office and the team moving forward because of a devastating loss like this year.
Well, that's an optimistic approach. I appreciate that phone call. I'll tell you why I feel good about the Celtics. Tatum, Brown, Brad Stevens. That makes me feel good. Okay? So they're not, look, I don't think they're on the same level as the Spurs, the Knicks, and the Thunder. I don't. Not here and now. 2 years ago when they had Kristaps Porzingis erect and playing, and they had, he had the injury and the sickness and all these different things that eventually wore him down. But when he was playing and he was upright, that's a guy who's a legitimate piece to a championship puzzle, as we saw. Drew Holiday, same thing. Then you factor in some of their depth pieces behind those guys, and you got a team that could compete with anyone. They don't have that now. Okay, when I look at how deep the Spurs are, who is the core of the Celtics right now? Honestly, let's be honest. Tatum Brown, Derek White, a core piece. He's still in the team. Peyton Pritchard, absolutely a core piece. But he's 6'1", he's limited in terms of defensively, who he can match up against just because he's not long. Good shooter, but he's not really a guy that you want in the paint all that frequently. He's limited. Great. I love Peyton Pritchard, but limited. And then after that, who are you talking about? Shireman? I like him, but I mean, he's not to the. I didn't see anything to the level of what I saw from those guys in San Antonio last night. Walsh, not to that level. They're not close. They don't have a 6-man of the year type of guy, like the Spurs have. They don't have the depth of the Thunder. They don't have the length and the experience of the Knicks with Anunoby and Bridges. They're not on that level. They could get to that level. They're not on it now. And I trust Brad Stevens. But if you, look, you got to spend, you got to change the philosophy. That's it. All things within your control you can do. Are you going to do them? I'm not saying don't take threes. The Spurs took 40 threes last night. Now, a reason for that was because they were feeling it and they were making them. But the Celtics, we know, are handcuffed by the three ball. And they don't know how to win any other way. The Spurs, I think, know how to win other ways. It just so happened last night the threes were falling. They can win in other ways. Threes were falling last night, and that's why they were able to do what they were able to do. Paul is in Rhode Island. Hey, Paul.
Thank you for taking my call. I started with this Red Sox. I was going to just...
whatever you want.
Okay, whatever I want, I'll just say, look at the record, the second and third place team across the board in MLB. But getting back to the Celtics, this is the topic that's on sale right now. I'm just going to tell you right now, the Spurs are a young team. Fox did well. The other guy did well. But you're not going to beat the Knicks. This New York needs glory. It ain't Josh Allen. It ain't the Yankees. It ain't the Rangers. It ain't Brooklyn. I'm telling you, this is going to change this year because of Brooklyn being so good in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd love to see how that plays out. I wouldn't love to see it. I don't want the Knicks to win. I'm rooting for Wemby. I don't root for the Knicks, New York. But I would love to see how that would play out. And I'm just saying, again, I'm not a basketball. Yeah, I didn't play organized basketball. I played ball in the park. Okay. I just, sitting where I sit right here and now, I don't know how the Knicks are going to slow down Wemby. And I don't know how the Spurs aren't going to find a way to at least impede Brunson a little bit to the point where that might knock New York off their spot just enough. Those are the questions I can't answer right now. I could answer other questions about the Spurs and why I think they're going to be successful in this series. I don't know how you're going to guard Wemby. I guess that's always a factor. And I just, when I looked into the eyes of those Spurs players, how did you not love what you saw? They were unafraid. I mean, they just went up against the defending champs, who, by the way, were undefeated in the playoffs before that series. Made everything look easy before that series. I don't understand how you're not going to have some struggles when you talk about the guards that they're going to be able to throw at Brunson and the problems they're going to create the Knicks defensively. De'Aaron Fox is a leader as a point guard. He's a crafty scorer. He can shoot. He has that teardrop. Obviously, Wemby does it all. I just don't understand how the Knicks are going to have all the answers and make it easy on their way to a championship. Going to put a ton of pressure, the Spurs will, on the Knicks. And the thing I'm most interested in is that Castle-Brunson matchup. I know I have the most respect you can have for Jalen Brunson and what he does in the fourth quarter. I just don't understand how he's going to be able to do what he wants to do against Stephon Castle. The athlete that he is, the length that he has, the mindset that he has, I just don't know how Brunson's going to be able to have his way. 617-779-0985. We got to take a quick one. We'll get back to your calls right when we get back. Stand by if you want to chill. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
the last time you saw the emotion out of a guy winning anything in the NBA? Like winning the Western Conference MVP? Wemby was genuinely excited and was happy about that. And, like you said, Castle, Vassell, and, De'Aaron Fox, you listen to those guys talk after that game, they genuinely give a damn. And that's the problem with this league in general. And I hope this team rolls for the next 7 years, honestly, because people like Jason Tatum, I know you love the guy. You can't say a negative thing about him. I mean, they don't care about playing that. They want to cash their checks, and that's it. Tatum, after the championship, had this feigned performance trying to be Kevin Garnett. It was embarrassing. It was a joke. This team is the team, along with the Knicks, they are all guys who care. And I'm happy about it, and I can't wait to watch the finals.
Yeah, same, Matt. And I'm glad you brought up the anything's possible or we did it or whatever he said there, Tatum, at the end, because that was emotion. Maybe it was fabricated or maybe it was staged or whatever. I just feel like, look, maybe it's not fair. He is 7 feet 4 inches. He moves like he's a guard. He has the skills of, his touch. He has the skill of Pau Gasol in his prime. But he's more physically dominant and can do way more things than Pau Gasol. But around the rim, the touch and the elegance where he can finish with both hands and just do whatever he wants to do, it's unmatched. I'm just saying the San Antonio, this is what the Celtics do not have, unequivocally. And I don't care, you can fight you on this. They don't have it. Everybody on that team, the Spurs, Castle, Vassell, Champagne, whatever his name is, all those guys, they know we got Wemby. They walk around with a little Wemby in their pants because they know they got Wemby. Just like the Chiefs know they have Mahomes. Just like the Patriots knew they got Brady. We got Brady. That doesn't exist with the Celtics. As good as Jason Tatum is, I don't think anybody on the Boston Celtics walks around with any more confidence because we got Jason. Now, they know he's a great player. They know what he's capable of. They know he can do things and have big games and big nights. But in game, I don't think any of them feel like because we have Tatum, we're going to find a way. And I think as a result, that's hurt them down the stretch of big games. I think guys have, as a result, tried to do too much sometimes when they get into that position because Tatum can't be trusted to be at his best. Doesn't mean I don't think he's a great player. I think he's a great player. But Wemby hasn't given us a reason, like Tatum, to question his output down the stretch of some big games. And until I see it, neither has SGA. Okay? He struggled in this series. His production dipped. Last night he was excellent, but I never looked out across the, out onto the court or through the screen and said, "Who is that guy? What is this guy doing that's out here? He looks like SGA. He looks like Victor Wembanyama, but he's not. Who is that guy?" I've said that way too many times about Jason Tatum. Way too many times. 2022, 2023, 2025, 2022, whatever. I've said it too many times. Facts, not an opinion. As a result, the Celtics have had issues closing out games. And it's been a problem. Now, there'll be problems that the Spurs will encounter, and there'll be, adversity that they're going to face, and we'll see what happens. But I just think because they have Wemby, and I just think I don't care as much about the post-game emotion. I care more about the in-game emotion. And I don't think the Celtics have that. Not to the level of some of the other guys. And I'm not saying that's going to be the difference, but it feels like Wemby is demanding a certain level of excellence. And when you're that intense, how does everybody around you not get to your level? I just think that's a factor that the Spurs benefit from that the Celtics don't benefit from. they've also had really good drafts. So I think that's going to be the difference for Wemby when you talk about, Nikola Jokic, we should have all known. Just the way he carries himself, he doesn't give a rip. He's just a really good and talented basketball player. He's not a dog. He's not a ferocious competitor to the likes that we've seen of. That's what LeBron James's problem is. Those guys, they're not Tiger Woods. They're not Michael Jordan. They're not Tom Brady. Jokic. They're not Kobe Bryant. Wemby could be. He could be. I'm not saying he's there yet. He could be. You got to learn more about his work ethic. You got to learn more about him in practice. You got to learn more about what he demands from his teammates as the stories will eventually come out and he gets more and more accomplished. He could be on that level. Isn't that everything? When you really sit, and we've had a lot of opportunities to do this because documentaries have come out and different things. When you look and listen to stories about Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, it's crazy how similar they are in terms of demanding the excellence out of their teammates and setting a standard and establishing a culture of work that everybody is forced to meet. That is where that's the best of the best right there. Some guys just can't do that. I don't think, guys can't do that. Tatum can't do that. Jaylen Brown doesn't do that. You're a rare breed if you can do that. Some people are into different things. Brown has other interests. Tatum, that's not his personality, and that's okay. They're great players. But I just don't think they're ferocious competitors. I don't think they're willing to get into the ass of a guy like Wemby might be. And I think that's going to be a big deal for the Spurs as we move forward. I can't wait for the finals. And I'm not going to underestimate the Knicks. But like I said, on paper, I'm just not sure how they're going to find an answer to Wembanyama and how Brunson, over 7 games, isn't going to encounter some problems with the athletes and the guards and the ferocity that he's going to face because they know that he's the head of the snake. And I just think they're going to make it hard for him. I think Castle's going to make it hard for him. So I like the Spurs in the series. 617-779-0985. There's something that the Patriots moved the needle last night. And it wasn't actually anything they did, but something occurred to me after watching the basketball that I think is now the new situation and the new state of affairs in Boston. I'm going to get to that next. And it involves the Patriots and the Celtics, but specifically the Patriots. And I'm going to explain something has happened. There's been a change, and I'm going to tell you what that is next. We're going to get a headlines. We go to break after the headlines, Jeff? No break. Headlines right back. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
From the Telefair Tiger Studios, this is Boston's home for sports. Touchdown! The flagship station of the Patriots, Bruins, the Celtics. WBCFM and HD Boston 98.5 The Sports Hub. Leslie Media Group station celebrating 65 years of broadcasting. Sports Hub headlines.
Well, Garrett Crochet was all set to return to action for the Red Sox. But the lefty, who was nearing the finish line in his recovery from left shoulder inflammation, reported tightness in his lat muscle, forcing him to shut down his throwing program for the time being. Crochet will undergo further medical tests, including an MRI, to rule out serious damage. So we'll have to wait and see. But he is now back on the shelf for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, the Red Sox trying to win the series in Cleveland. They just took a 3-2 lead and then immediately gave it back, and now they're trailing 4-3. And the Guardians have 2 on with 1 out, runners on second and third. They are in the 5th inning in Cleveland. We'll keep you posted. The San Antonio Spurs are your Western Conference champions after they beat the Thunder, the defending champs, last night. 111-103 in Game 7. That was in OKC. It'll be the Spurs and the Knicks in the NBA Finals. What's going to be a rematch from 1999, Game 1, Wednesday night, 8:30 tip from Texas. Stanley Cup Final gets underway Tuesday night in Carolina. Vegas up against the Hurricanes for the Cup, and the Patriots are back on the field for OTAs this week. We'll see what happens with A.J. Brown. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by DN Van Lines. Take the chance out of your move and make the sure bet with DN Van Lines, an improved mover of the Department of Defense, dnvanlines.com. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update about an hour.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Bruins, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Sox, the Revs, and you. We're Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Yeah, weaving in and out of traffic. I mean, if I was in a high pursuit, a chase or something, this is what I'd want. Something like this. But anyway, look, I'm going to get to the point I was just about to make, but I love being able to root for somebody. Does that make any sense? You know, like the Knicks. I'm not going to root for the Knicks. I don't root for New York. I'm excited to root against the Knicks in this NBA final. I was thinking about other times I really enjoyed myself rooting against an opponent I detested. Just something that came to mind. I was a big Warriors fan whenever they would go up against LeBron, some 10 years ago or whatever. I enjoyed rooting for those Warriors teams because I just didn't want to see LeBron win. Random one. I was intensely against the Florida Marlins winning the World Series in 1997 and was passionately rooting for the Cleveland Indians. I don't know why.
I hated the Indians back then.
I don't know why.
They were Red Sox killers.
Yeah, and I rooted hard against the Indians in 95 when the Braves were trying to win because I loved the Braves. But for whatever reason, I just didn't want the Florida Marlins to win the World Series. Didn't work out. But that Indians team I was rooting for in that series. I remember I was totally into that series. Another one, I had a blast during Super Bowl, I forget the number. Broncos losing to the Seahawks. Absolute blast. Hated that Broncos team. Hated Peyton Manning, And when that game went the way it did, I was having a good time. It was a good night. And then I used to root for the Avalanche over the Red Wings back in the 90s. I love that rivalry. And I did not like the Red Wings. I liked the Avalanche. I liked their uniforms. And that was the team that I was pulled for, especially against the Red Wings. I remember being into those series. So hopefully this one's similar because I do enjoy Wemby and what that makeup is, the team that they've kind of constructed in San Antonio. I think San Antonio in general is sort of an interesting case study just by we've seen so many over the last 20 years, these super teams and these big flossy and whatever markets, the Lakers, the Heat, and yet San Antonio just keeps grinding, keeps winning, keeps finding ways into the championship. I mean, ever since 99 and Tim Duncan, they never won back-to-back. But they were the first team to win after the Bulls dynasty. They were the first team to win after the Lakers dynasty. They ended, didn't they end whatever the Heat were doing with LeBron and Dwayne Wade? So you could say they ended their mini dynasty. Because they lost the first year, and then they come back in 14 and won. I think they beat the Heat that year. And the Heat, though, that iteration of the Heat never won again. The Heat haven't won since. They end that dynasty, and now here they are back in the NBA Finals and the favorites in the NBA Finals with a bunch of young kids. Probably going to be together a long time. They don't screw it up. But one thing that dawned on me watching this, okay, I think it's going to be interesting how the Patriots, I don't want to say respond, but I think the Patriots have now after watching how the NBA playoffs have played out, have moved into the pole position as team closest to winning a championship. I think they are closer than the Celtics. Right now, the Patriots are the closest team to winning a championship in Boston. Certainly more so than the Red Sox. Definitely more than the Bruins. There's no reason to think that they're super close. It's the Patriots. Because I don't think the Celtics are on the level of the Spurs, the Knicks, or the Thunder. Not until Brad Stevens gets to work. Russ is in Framingham. Hey, Russ.
Yeah, really, Rockets, they got Reece Shepherd over Stephon Castle, and that's why the Spurs are where they are.
Yeah. I mean, the Spurs have that's a good point. The Spurs have definitely had some luck with the draft. See, now I didn't realize, what was Castle, the 4th pick? I mean, they just made some really good selections. Harper wasn't a guaranteed number. I don't remember Dylan Harper being the guaranteed bona fide number 2 pick in the draft. I know he was up there. Yeah. Stephon Castle, 4th. Reed Shepherd out of Kentucky went to the Rockets. Credit to the Spurs. I mean, they did what they needed to do there in the 2024 draft. So they've nailed. Man. So here are the Spurs. The last 3 drafts. This is got to be unprecedented. Okay? The last 3 drafts the Spurs have taken with their number 1 pick. Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper. I mean, that's got to be unprecedented. To have 3 first-round picks and to make hay that well is unbelievable. I mean, that's why they are where they are. Harper is a stud. He's a star. We saw that in Game 7. He's only going to get better. Castle is already an established star. Could be a superstar. Could become a superstar. And we know what Wembanyama is. Those were their last 3 number 1 picks. Ridiculous. And I don't even know if they've had another pick, that's contributing somewhere in those last 3 drafts. But, I mean, those 3 in 3 consecutive years. I mean, have the Celtics ever had anything close to that outside of Red Auerbach? I mean, I get it. They don't always draft at the top of the draft, but man. Hugo Gonzalez, I'm just reading some of the Celtics' first-round picks. Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Shireman, Aaron Neesmith, Romeo Langford, Robert Williams, Tatum, okay. Brown, okay. Rozier, Smart. I mean, Tatum and Brown were pretty damn good. That was close. I'll give the Celtics that. It was close. Because it's not like they were household names, especially Jaylen Brown. And to do what you did in trading the pick and getting into a position to draft Jason Tatum, pretty damn good. But not what the Spurs just did with 3 straight drafts and stars in those drafts. And it wasn't all their, homework that got it done. Maybe Castle just fell to them. They got lucky. Obviously, Wembanyama is somebody that everybody was going to take, but they were able to get into position and do it. So, but getting back to what I was saying, I think the Celtics have now moved behind the Patriots, and the Patriots are now the team that is closest to winning a championship. And I'm uncomfortable with the narrative around the Patriots and why so many people think that the schedule is going to be a major factor this year. It will be a factor. I just don't think it'll be a major factor because I think they're going to be so good, they're going to beat a lot of the teams on their schedule regardless of how good those other teams are. I think the Patriots are that good. I mean, I think it's that. I think they're that legit. If you have, let's talk about the guys on the roster. Hello. You have an MVP quality quarterback who people, whether it's real or not, are saying, watch out for him this year. He looks even better. Now, I don't know how, but that's what they're saying. He looks even better. So, if that's the case, I love it. We'll see what their running back room looks like. Their offensive line has obviously improved. Their offensive line has improved. Big deal, right? Nobody wants to talk about that? Well, I don't know. Will Campbell, Lomu. No. Will Campbell can play. Is he going to be a left tackle for the rest of his career? I don't know. But he can play. He's going to be on the NFL field. He's going to be a guy that you can rely on week in and week out to be out there and to play well. Might not be all pro, might not be a star. He'll be fine. They just drafted another lineman in the first round. They've got some good veteran leadership, some good veteran players. They've got a two-headed monster at defensive tackle. They've got some additions along the edge. They've got guys coming back and continuity for the most part with at least Robert Spillane at linebacker. And then their secondary is going to be one of the best, not in the AFC, in the NFL. What am I missing here? Oh, the weapons? Even without A.J. Brown, when you have a MVP level quarterback, you're going to have production throwing the ball. And I just don't think with what the Celtics are working with currently, they're in as advantageous of a position to win the championship. They don't have what the Patriots have on their roster. They don't have the depth. They don't have the leadership on the field that I think May does provide. We'll find out more this year. But I think there is an element to Drake May that Tatum and Brown do not have. I think there is an element of, we'll see what happens, and Drake May's under pressure after the Super Bowl and the playoffs. But I think when he's right, there is a, hey, we got Drake, we're going to be good. I don't think, like I said, the Celtics have that. And as a result, I think that the Patriots are now the team to beat. Nobody wants to, I don't understand why last year's schedule has stuck in so many people's craws. I mean, even coming into this year, and you think that they're going to be exposed this year because the schedule last year, I don't see that. I think they're going to be even better. It might not look as good on paper because they will play better teams, but I still think they're going to win way more than they lose. And that the fact they're playing better teams is not going to make a huge difference because I think they're good, and good teams beat other good teams. Simple as that. Good teams are good enough to beat other good teams, and I think that's what the Patriots will do this year, this season. They'll beat other good teams. 617-779-0985. Mike Reese was talking in his Sunday notes about Christian Gonzalez and what's going on with him. If the Patriots sign A.J. Brown, I'll tell you why that should be great news regarding Christian Gonzalez. If they trade for A.J. Brown, not sign, they'd have to trade for him. I think that would be good news in regards to Christian Gonzalez. If they don't acquire A.J. Brown, I think that would be bad news regarding Christian Gonzalez, and I'll explain when I get back. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
back to the phones. Deshaun is in Virginia. Hey, Deshaun.
Hello, sir. How's it going?
What's up?
I want to say that I most definitely concur with you when it comes to the Patriots' schedule because I feel like most people will tend to overrate that schedule because you got to understand that people talk about, the schedule got better, but the Patriots also got better too. I mean, they also have a pretty good defense that those other quarterbacks are going to have to see and have to go up against. And also you have to factor in too that the offensive line is much more improved, and depending on the fact they get A.J. Brown, it's going to be even better. So when I look at the other quarterbacks across the landscape of the league, I don't really believe in a lot of those guys. Like a Trevor Lawrence and like a Caleb Williams and, guy from Green Bay. Like I believe they can be had by our defense. That's what I believe in.
Thanks, Deshaun. Yeah, I mean, look, couple teams there, the Bears being one, the Jaguars another one. They had great seasons under their head coach. Their first seasons with, Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen. I need to see it again. I want to see it again. I'm not saying that they're frauds or I think I have more faith in the Bears than the Jaguars. I'm not the biggest supporter of Trevor Lawrence. I'm not the biggest supporter of Caleb Williams either, but I think Ben Johnson has really done him wonders. But those teams, I want to see it again. And look, you could say it about the Patriots too. But I just have faith in Vrabel despite the mess of an offseason. I think Drake May's legit despite the fact that the playoffs looked the way they looked. And I want to see it again from some of these other teams that they're going to play this season before I just chalk up the Jaguars to 12 wins and the Bears to 13 wins. I need to see it. Okay? And I think the Patriots, given the guys they've got in their roster, I mean, that secondary is nasty on paper. Their defensive line is legit. You get a draft pick in there that pops or a free agent signing that performs better than we thought, and you're talking about a team that's going to be loaded. Not okay, especially if they get A.J. Brown. John is in Scituate. Hey, John.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up?
I was just going to say, what do you think's going to happen with the running back room this year with the kid we drafted from Alabama? And I know Trevion Henderson really didn't produce last year. He's a little too shifty before the tackles. And then one other thing is, like, if we don't sign A.J. Brown, I don't see why we don't just cut someone like Demario Douglas and just sign Diggs for like a 2-year, $16 million deal. Just, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense.
All right, thanks for the call. I mean, I'm obviously, if you've been listening, I'm higher than Demario Douglas. I'm higher on him than a lot of people. I still think there's something there if they can figure out how to tap into it. Do I love the running back room for the Patriots? I don't. I think they're going to be, assuming they get A.J. Brown, in a good position offensively. I don't think it's going to crush them. But I wouldn't mind, one more guy there that maybe is either a highly touted rookie or somebody that has done it a little bit in the NFL. I don't know what to expect out of Jam Miller. He was a 7th-round pick. Now, again, that's kind of where I want to take a running back. 4th, 5th round, probably preferably, but if you want to draft a guy in the 7th round because he's an explosive athlete, what they say Miller is, a consensus top 10 running back in the country during his senior year of high school. I don't know what that means. He was going to go to Texas, but flipped to Alabama. 4.42 speed, tremendous straight line speed. Limitations in his game that hampered his production and made him available in the 7th round. So he's a power back, but a bunch of straight line speed. So I don't know if it's a vision thing. He runs with power and has a low center of gravity. I'm reading off of a scouting report from Kyrie Thompson here, Boston.com. Not super quick side to side, but once he gets going, he can move pretty fast. Didn't translate into many big plays. Longest run of the season was only 24 yards that last year at Alabama. Average 4.6 yards per carry. A weakness is pass protection. So I can't expect too much out of him. I honestly think a huge X factor this season will be Travion Henderson. Because they need a draft pick, a recent draft pick, to turn into a star. They need their equivalent of Seahawks cornerback Devin Witherspoon. That's what they need. That's what the Patriots need. I think I said Witherspoon. I meant Witherspoon. Apologies. But he became a star. Okay? Now I understand he was a first-round pick. So that's probably an unfair comparison. But my point is, Travion Henderson has all the talent and the ability in the world. He flashed last year, obviously, at times. They desperately need him to take a step forward. Whether that's with his vision, whether that's his pass protection, both being an every down, a showing that he can approximate being an every down back. They really need that from him. I think that would be huge if they can get that from him. That would take pressure off some of the rookies. Some of the guys that they drafted, I'm thinking of a guy like Eli Raritan. He wouldn't have to necessarily come in and contribute right away if you had a guy like Travion Henderson take a step forward. But their running back room with Ramondre Stevenson, he's solid. He's another year older. Solid back. We know all about him. Not dynamic. Not overly dynamic at this point. So I'm not going to, I think it'll be serviceable as long as you have an MVP level type of quarterback in May. You get A.J. Brown, and you can get something out of the tight ends, whether that's Hunter Henry continuing to do his thing or this Raritan kid emerging as a player that can contribute, not necessarily as a star, but somebody that can contribute. You got to get something there. So, yeah, I wish they had a more established or more, productive running back room going into the season that I could sit here and say, what you're going to get from these guys, because we don't. I don't know how good Stevenson, I don't know how much left Stevenson has in the tank. I don't know if Travion Henderson could regress. He could start fumbling the ball. If I knew he was taking a step forward, that would be different. It's impossible to know that. 617-779-0985. What I will say, though, we didn't get to it. If the Patriots get A.J. Brown, that's a huge development for Christian Gonzalez. And I think you should make sure he gets paid if A.J. Brown is on this team. You have to pay him if he's on this team. I'll expand on that thought because there's something else that would need to happen along those same lines. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Drink a Blue Moon and suddenly everything feels...
So I know this isn't going to be popular. 617-779-0985, Mark Dondero. Look, Christian Gonzalez was awesome in the Super Bowl. But I think you only pay him that huge contract that he deserves. He deserves a huge contract, but if the Patriots aren't going to get A.J. Brown, I don't think you should pay Christian Gonzalez that contract because I don't think they're close enough without A.J. Brown. I think you need A.J. Brown to justify paying Christian Gonzalez that type of money, or else you go back into the draft and you try to build it back up again and you pay Drake May and go from there. If you're going to pay Christian Gonzalez, you want to make sure that you have a roster that can win a Super Bowl or at least contend for a Super Bowl. And with A.J. Brown, you would have that. Otherwise, I don't think you do. And then what happens is you become a team that's okay. I don't know. I just wonder if it's worth paying a cornerback who every time we see a cornerback have a huge season, we always see it come back down the other way. We saw it with Josh Norman. We saw it with Nnamdi Asomugha. We saw it with Darrelle Revis even. It took him a little bit longer because he was so great. He was so elite. But it always comes back around. They're never quite as good as they were when they earned that contract. And I would bet on that. I would bet on the trends. And I wouldn't give them $32 million a year, whatever it'll be. Not if I don't have a team ready to win a championship or with the potential to win a championship. And I just don't think without A.J. Brown they do. I think they'll be good. But you need to get back into the draft. And if you're that good drafting, you should be able to find another cornerback that could be an impact player for you. That could be a defensive foundation piece for you. If you're that good. Drafting. And they need to be. Because I still don't think, even with a quarterback in today's NFL, you win anything without drafting well. We saw it with the Seahawks and all the guys that they've drafted that led them to this championship. I mean, they did it without drafting a guy at quarterback. Obviously, Sam Darnold was not their guy that they drafted, but they drafted well in all other spots, and that's why they had a team and a roster. Look, the Super Bowl still pisses me off. I still think it was a disgrace what the Patriots did that night. I think it was a disgrace that they weren't more prepared for that game. I think it was a joke the way Drake May looked in that game. But I still think if they get A.J. Brown, they're going to be as good as anybody in the league. Jeff is in Tingsboro. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Mark, what's up, man?
What's up?
So I was going to talk about Gonzalez, but I wanted to say, too, about the quarterback, about May. Like, I think the kid was hurt. I don't think he was even 50% in that game. After watching some of the videos when Vrabel's picking him up off the ground, asking him if he wants to finish, I don't think that kid was healthy at all. And, I mean, I know that the competition was stiffer, but the other thing, too, was – how often can you find a guy like Gonzalez, a shutdown corner that's under the age of 25 or whatever he is, 25, 26? It's hard to find those guys. And I regardless of whether or not they get A.J. Brown, I think you got to lock this kid up no matter whatever it takes. I think he's a cornerstone player, and he's somebody that they just don't grow on trees. He can shut down the whole side of the field. He was the best player in that Super Bowl, as well as I do.
By far. And thanks for the call. I loved watching him in that game. I love his game. Again, I'm just trying to figure out what's the most efficient route to building a roster that can win you a championship. And I don't know if signing a guy to that type of contract when you've got the contract of the quarterback looming probably the next year. I don't know if that's the best practice if you're not right there to win it. And I just don't think without A.J. Brown, they're going to be there to win it. I don't think they're going to have the horses. They came up short in the Super Bowl, and I don't disagree with the idea that Drake May might have been more hurt than we were led to believe. I mean, he looked that bad in that game. My gut tells me it wasn't about an injury. It was just about being in a bad place mentally. That's what my gut says. Obviously, I have no proof of that. I just think he was not prepared for that game and that team. And I think the struggles in the playoffs to that point and the lack of protection that he had gotten and the hits he had taken and the pressure he had faced really became a problem. I think it got into his head, and I don't think he was able to get over it for the Super Bowl. And that's why to this day I'm still disappointed in the effort and Vrabel and McDaniels for not coaching that out of him. Because you saw it in the AFC Championship game. Man, this is hard. This is hard. And McDaniels addressing that with Drake. I'm not saying he shouldn't have felt that. I'm just saying it was clear that mentality had become something for Drake May. He had certainly lost some swag, some edge, some confidence, and was feeling the heat literally and figuratively based on everything that had happened throughout the playoffs. And the coaches should have identified that and done more to fix that leading into the Super Bowl. I know the Seahawks are a really good team, really good defense. I still think there was no reason the Patriots had to look that inept. Completely offensively inept in that game. And I still think if they sign A.J. Brown, they're the closest team to winning a championship. Because then you're talking about a number one wide receiver, a bona fide number one, to go with an MVP level quarterback, which I think Drake May is, even though he's going to have to sort of reestablish himself early in the season. I believe in that player. I believe in the kid. Not a kid, but you know what I'm saying. I believe in him. I believe in their roster. And if you add A.J. Brown, I think you're legit. And then you see who else emerges and who else can do what needs to be done. Because I just feel like they're closer than a lot of and I don't really give a rip about the schedule. I think the schedule is going to show what the Patriots really are and how good they are. I think it's real. I think they're not a fake at all. So, look, I understand you want to keep Gonzalez around, but can you draft? If you can draft, losing a player like that it shouldn't be that big a deal. And I just don't think without Brown there, you keep him around at that price. Have some confidence and go get some other corners in the draft. Have some confidence in your scheme. If that's going to inhibit your ability to sign other players, I don't know. I don't think I would do it. There is something to be said for this guy has earned a second deal and you should reward him because of the way he's played. Okay. I hear that. I'm just saying if you think that will tie you up and handcuff you in an ability to sign other guys at maybe more premium positions, I would do it. By premium positions, I'm talking about up the middle. Defensive tackle, maybe a linebacker, a safety, which I know they've done. That's what I want to see them do. Attack up the middle. I think it's important. It's helpful to have a shutdown corner. He was the best player in the Super Bowl, no doubt. But the problem was they didn't have anybody that could do anything offensively. So I would take my chance of having a guy that might not be as good out on the boundary find ways to manipulate coverage to protect him and getting some other depth pieces or offensive pieces that can help you be more explosive. And then try to draft because you got to do it in the draft. You got to show that you can keep going back to the draft to replace players and to get impact players. And that's what the Patriots have shown an inability to do in recent years, although last year was better. Now, what type of step forward can they take? What type of step forward can Travion Henderson take? That's what I'm waiting to see. I want to see what he does and how he looks. But if you get Brown and then you can sign Gonzalez knowing that you're a legit contender for the Super Bowl, that would be my preferred path. If you get A.J. Brown, you better sign Christian Gonzalez. Put those pieces together. I don't want them to not be in a position to sign Gonzalez. I'd rather him stay and be a contender now. I'm just saying, if you don't get Brown and you roll into the year with Romeo Doubs and Mac Hollins and Pop Douglas and Ramondre Stevenson, I don't think that's enough. And if you're going to have to pay Drake May next year and you've just paid Gonzalez, I don't know if a cornerback, any cornerback, is worth that money when you have a lot of other pieces and holes that you want to plug. That's all. So we're going to have to wait and see how that all plays out. OTAs are this week. 617-779-0985. There's a softball game tonight. Great time of year. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports. I'm Mark Dondero with you till 5. Big softball game tonight out in Worcester. Big one. Drake May's charity May Day Softball Classic. Let's break down the teams here. Team Patriots versus Team Sox, kid. Team Patriots, Drake May and Michael May, who I'm told is an athlete. I'm not sure if she played softball or in high school or what, but Drake and his wife, Ann Michael. Will Campbell, Mike Owenu, Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas, Ramondre Stevenson, Romeo Dobbs. Big Z is on that team. Team Patriots, Dano Chara. The May boys, Cole May, Luke May, brothers of Drake on Team Patriots. Megan Keller and Jill Saulnier, who I'm not familiar with. Is Megan Keller a hockey player? Should I know who they are?
The name sounds very familiar.
I'm not familiar with those women. I want to say she's a hockey player. Megan Keller, American professional ice hockey defenseman. Okay, she plays for the Boston Fleet. And Jill Saulnier, another hockey player from I'm assuming the Fleet. Boston Fleet. So a couple of the Boston Fleet players, and then Mike Vrabel is the manager player. I bet he could drive a softball. He gets his ass into one. Okay? That's the Team Patriot squad. Team Sox, Christian Gonzalez. Hopefully he doesn't tweak a little calf in this game.
Or Robert Edwards issue?
No. Don't even bring that up. Brendan Schooler, Tommy DeVito, Marcus Jones, Matt Collins, Robert Spillane, Jared Wilson, Julian Edelman, Jack Westover. And I'm not sure what Julian Edelman's background is in baseball. I know he played as a youngster via, I think, the Football Life featuring Julian Edelman. But I don't know if he played in high school. In fact, I can tell you this, and forgive me, Julian, if you're listening, I did do a story in 2017. I wrote a story, a rare article that I wrote on the 2017 Patriots, or the 2016 Patriots, but it was February of 2017. It came out just before Super Bowl 51. And what I did was I called all of the teams, so Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Danny Amendola, Martellus Bennett, Dante Hightower. I called. There was nothing there, but I'll explain. What I did was I talked to all their coaches from high school in the sports they played that weren't football. It wasn't football. So I talked to Tom Brady's baseball coach. I talked to Rob Gronkowski's basketball coach, who had the story of the day for that article. And if you hadn't heard, he basically, what happened was Rob Gronkowski, he went to the line, okay? Free throws. The score was 68-50, whatever it was. His team was winning. So he goes to the free throw line, makes the first free throw, 69-57, Gronk's team. Has one more shot, fires the ball off the backboard, pitcher style pretty much, intentionally misses, and then runs back down the floor, hyping up the crowd because that light said 69 on the scoreboard. Oh, that is just as Gronk of a story. I think the story I wrote went viral because of it. So I appreciate that, Gronk, and I appreciate that Gronk's high school basketball coach. The news station I was working to at the time had no idea what to do. Like, why is this story that we just put on the web? Why? First of all, why is Mark Dondero writing for the website? And second of all, why does this have 54,000 views? Oh, because Gronk was celebrating 69 points in the basketball game. But my point was, I don't know if I definitely called about Julian Edelman. I don't think he played anything else in high school. He wasn't part of the story. He just played football. Amendola was a baseball player. Some good stuff. Devin McCourty was a great basketball player. Got some good stuff on him. Martellus Bennett, a very celebrated basketball player. Obviously, Brady in baseball. Some great stuff there. the Gronk. So it was disappointing. I thought I was definitely going to get something good from Edelman's high school, and they said he didn't play anything else. But he's a great athlete. So I think he'll be more than serviceable in a game of softball. The other guys on Team Sox, Dave Portnoy, who's a baller, isn't he? I've seen him post that video of from high school. He's hitting that home run, David Portnoy.
Like 35 years ago.
Props to the video team at, was it Swampska where he went to school? Because they had video back in the early 90s. Or whenever he was, I don't know how old he is. When was that, the 90s? It must have been the 90s, right? Maybe not the early 90s. But that was pretty good. Late 90s. So I'm assuming he can swing it a little bit, even though I will say I'll engage in some slow pitch softball. A bunch of the dads that I know from the town I live in play on a team. By the way, shout out Mark Ockerbloom, just recently retired from Boston 25. Plays in the league, menace, can't get him out. Kind of a slap hitter, but hits these line drives like it's his job over the third baseman's head. You can't get him out. And he snagged a couple that I've hit down the third base line, robbed me of some hits. He's going to have a lot of time to work on his softball game now that he's retired. But it's hard. I mean, I don't know if this is fast pitch, if it's slow, but it's hard to hit that big looping ball that comes in. That's all I'll say. It's harder than you think. So we'll see how some of these guys are. But I got to give the edge to, I guess, Team Patriots with the May boys. Those are athletes, real athletes. Will Smith and Matty Beniers are also, Matt Rife also rounding out Team Sox. Josh McDaniels, manager player. I've been told Joe Murray is going to be at this event. Why don't you get his ass on the field? Give him a bat. It's a big old bat. Could put in the lineup. I bet Joe could get into one. He's an athlete. Joe, you might not know this. Joe's an athlete. He was a football star. I'm under the impression, based on what I've heard, he can handle himself on a basketball court. And he can hit the baseball. Okay?
Homers, baby.
Give him an at-bat. Give him one.
But not just homers. Dongs.
Give him one. Give him an at-bat. Let him pinch hit. Get the crowd into it. I'm not saying put him at short, but just give him a bat. See what happens. Dan is in Rhode Island. Hey, Dan.
What's up, Bud?
What's up,
How
man?
you doing?
How are you?
Good. You sure Diana Rossini is in there in some Team Pats at all?
I didn't see her name in there, but
All
that
right.
would get the people going, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. But, in an odd way, it probably doesn't mean anything, but it is a good sign, like Vrabel showing up that, things are hopefully getting back to normal.
Yeah.
Like
be a
this
part
will
of
all
a
be
community event and all that, yeah.
Yeah, so that helps. So, real quick, I don't disagree with you too often on a lot of things, as you know, but this time with the Patriots, I am a firm believer in the old Super Bowl jinx to the loser.
Sure.
Whereas everything this happened to the 49ers 2 years ago, and I just think like everything that went right in this past year is going to go wrong, mostly from the injury front. I don't want that to happen. But even beyond that, here's the thing. I kind of look back at the last whole bunch of Super Bowls, and two things. I am not saying that Drake May is Rex Grossman, because he's not. But in terms of a Cinderella, I really think the Patriots are probably the biggest Cinderella since that Bears team in 2006 when the Colts won, and the Patriots should have won the Super Bowl that year. It's just, man, I don't see him in the playoffs. Yeah, they were decent and they got to where they got to go, but it was just, I just can't get past. I watched the games again. The NFL Network was playing them, and it just seemed like I can't believe that they won. They just had so many things go their way, and I just don't think they're just too far ahead. And they're set up to fail right now. That's the biggest way I'm looking at it. But I hope there's no injuries. But I just think that last year was a fluke, in a lot of different ways.
All right,
let's hope that's not the case.
But before you run, Dan, let me just ask you, do you have any trepidation at all about the quarterback, Drake May? Do you think he'll have trouble approximating the MVP level, performance he had last year?
MVP level probably, but I mean, he's not. If he's like Justin Herbert or something like that, I'd be perfectly happy. Because if we have a top 10 quarterback, period, it doesn't have to be an MVP. I'm happy because that's every other team wants something like that. A solid QB1 for the next 10 to 15 years makes me happy. He does not have to be MVP because as Sam Darnold has proved, you don't need to be an MVP to win anymore in this league. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah.
I just think the Rex Grossman thing comes apart when you talk about the quarterback because of the MVP level performance we saw. I just don't think it's close in terms of that. The Cinderella run stuff I agree with. And it's a shame that these questions had to emerge the way they've emerged. I mean, all it would have taken, really, and the Patriots played how many games in the playoffs? 4 games? Because there's only that one bye this now in the NFL. All it would have taken for Drake May to eliminate some of the conversation, and maybe it won't mean anything, was one bona fide studly playoff game. That's all it would have taken. After the regular season he had and being in that conversation, the legit conversation for MVP, one playoff game where he showed out, where he balled out. 3 touchdowns, no picks, a rushing score. Or 2 touchdowns, a rushing score, 312 yards passing, no picks. That's all it would have taken. And even other poor performances would have been put aside. The problem was it went from bad to not very bad, but just as bad to worse to disastrous. And the trajectory just continued to go down. And now we're inevitably left with questions and some uncertainties coming into this season. Now, I think he's going to take care of that quickly, which if he's able, if he's the quarterback we think he is, he will take care of it quickly. But if he had one game, the AFC Championship or the divisional round, where he showed out against the defense of that caliber, none of this would have been well, yeah, he struggled against the Chargers, but you see what he did against the Texans in that playoff game? And then he did what he had to do against the Broncos in the elements to win. All right, and then he didn't look good in the Super Bowl. But at least we could all hang our hat on that Texans game. He continued to struggle, and it never got better. In fact, it got worse. And now there's questions. I just think if you got Drake May, MVP type of Drake May, MVP quarterback, hello. You win a bunch of games when you have an MVP level quarterback, especially if you have help. 2 studs along the defensive line in Barmore and Williams, a stud in the secondary like Christian Gonzalez, and then you get guys like Byard and Marcus Jones and other depth pieces if Carlton Davis can play. All these guys are going to support you. A better offensive line will support you. Romeo Doubs, if he could be a better version of Jacoby Myers, you don't think that will help Drake May feast? If one of these rookies can show up, if Travion Henderson takes a step forward and you can rely on him as a check down option or a guy that could catch the ball out of the backfield routinely. If May's the MVP quarterback, they're going to be right there, especially if you get A.J. Brown. That takes you to a different level, and you are back with the expectations of what you had last year. It's up to May to show us early and often that he's the guy that we think he is. 617-779-0985. I give the edge to the Drake May team. They're having a home run derby. I'm not sure what that fence will be. Is it like a Little League field? It's not easy to hit that looping softball pitch, I'll tell you that. I don't particularly enjoy it either. From somebody that played baseball at a decent level. I just think it's annoying. Now I understand my skills have eroded immensely, but I still think it's just hitting that fat ball is just not what I want to do. 617-779-0985. We'll update you on the Red Sox. We're going to get a headlines. We're right back here. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Zone.
Fletcher and Hardy, Owen Beetle, Felger and Mass, the Bruins, the Celtics, the Pats, the Revolution. This is Boston's home for sports. WBC FM at HD Boston, 98.5 The Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Garrett Crochet was all set to return to action for the Red Sox, but the lefty, who was nearing that finish line that he was headed for from a recovery, that left shoulder inflammation that he had suffered, reported tightness in his lat muscle, forcing him to shut it down and shut his throwing program down for the time being. Crochet will undergo further medical tests, including an MRI, to rule out any other serious damage. Meanwhile, Sox playing in Cleveland, and thanks to a 6-run seventh inning, the Sox are now in control of this one, 9-4. They're in the 8th inning, and they're trying to take 2 of 3 from the Guardians. Sox trying to get the bats going. They have the last couple of days, so that's nice to see. Mickey Gasper, Bryant University alum, ball player, stud ball players from that school, with an RBI in this one. San Antonio Spurs, Western Conference champions after they beat the defending champs 111-103 in Game 7 last night in OKC. Spurs and Knicks will meet in the NBA Finals. Can't wait. It's 1999 all over again. Game 1, 8:30 p.m. tip from Texas on Wednesday night. Stanley Cup Final gets underway Tuesday night in Carolina. It's Vegas up against the Hurricanes, and the Patriots are back on the field for OTAs this week. June 1st is Monday. We'll see what happens with A.J. Brown. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by, wait for it, Awaken 180. Reach your health and weight goals with Reclaim by Awaken 180. A 10-week medication-free plan with weekly results and a finish line. Awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update about an hour.
Diving effort. He's got a breakaway. To the backhand. Throws it in front. Coming to the spot.
The Sports Hub. When it comes to Boston sports, we're fans just like you. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
All right, back here, 95 The Sports Hub. I lied. There is no update in about an hour. You're going to have to figure it out yourself. Yesterday there was, or this weekend, Bill Simmons made a comment regarding the Celtics and whatever the pursuit may or may not be regarding Giannis Antetokounmpo. I found it interesting. It'll be something worth monitoring as the trade talks around the draft and the combine get underway. This is what Simmons had to say about the Celtics and Giannis.
I keep saying it. I don't think Boston's in on Giannis.
I've certainly not sensed any great urgency from them to break up their team.
I think the reason to trade Jalen would be to not want to have the two $70 million guys in 2 years or 65 or whatever.
So, I mean, define in on Giannis. What does that mean? Because I don't necessarily agree. I think, and obviously Bill Simmons knows way more than I do on this, but I get a lot of things right too. And I think the Celtics are investigating Giannis. I fully believe they are investigating the possibility of adding Giannis Antetokounmpo. I do think that's happening. I don't think the Celtics are interesting, or I do think they're interesting. I don't think they're interested in breaking up Tatum and Brown. I do not think that. So where does that leave them? Does that leave them with legitimate interest in Giannis Antetokounmpo where they could actually get a deal done? Or are they just kind of doing their due diligence and kicking the tires and never, really considering making a strong offer? I would not break up Tatum and Brown. I wouldn't. Now, do they have everything I've ever, are there things that I wish they were? Yes. I wish they did some different things differently. I wish their makeup was different at times, but I just still think they're too good. And if you break them up, you're going to take a step backwards and you're not going to be able to take a step forward. I just don't think you're going to be able to do it. I would actually worry, I'll take it a step further. I would actually worry that you'd become closer to the Dallas Mavericks or the Cleveland Cavaliers to be more optimistic about it than becoming this bona fide championship contender with Giannis and Jason Tatum. I don't think you're going to do that. I don't think it's going to happen that way. Joe is in the car. Hey, Joe.
Hey, how you doing today? Thanks for taking my call. I want to respond to what that last caller talked about, the Patriots season being a complete fluke last year. I completely disagree that I would never call it a fluke. I would call it, some fortunate breaks, some injuries, this or that. But for the majority of the year, the Patriots offense played well. The defense played well. Their special teams were better, and it's a reflection of obviously the coaching, which was markedly better than the jabronis they had for years on offense and defense, and they had some legitimate players that came to play. Vrabel got them to play. Now, again, at the end of the year, I will say that and in the playoffs, they ran into some tough teams, and the offense was struggling. I don't think May was 100%. I'm not making excuses. I'm not a red teamer or whatever you want to call them. That
is that a thing? Do we have that? Blue teamer, red teamer? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I just want to say that, and they ran into a buzzsaw in the Super Bowl, and I had called in and talked to McCarthy in the week of the Super Bowl, and I said it's going to hinge on the Patriots got to get turnovers. Sam Darnold's got to be in a charitable mood. The defense has to be stout, and they have to protect May, and they didn't do any of that. What I didn't expect was Kenneth Walker to be a steamroller all day, but I just think it's doing a disservice to the effort that they put forth last year. It wasn't a fluke. They did have some fortunate, the schedule was what it was. It was an easy schedule. Not going to say that. But if they fail this year or they don't finish 14-3, which I doubt they will do, they probably won't even be close. It'll be because of the strength of schedule, and the law of averages will normalize out. So I think we should give them more credit. It wasn't a complete fluke, and I appreciate you taking my call. Have a great day.
You too. I'm more aligned with Joe. It's a fascinating thing. And we're going to get the answers. The good news is we're going to get the answers really quickly come September. We're going to know real quick. They've got 4 playoff teams right out of the gate. I love the fact that Drake May is going to be put right back into a scenario where he has to stare across the line at the Seahawks. But, I don't know what you want them to do. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like they're being punished for the poor, the strength of schedule they had last year. Or people are unwilling to validate some of their success because of the strength of schedule. So I'm confused. Would it have been better for them to struggle with that schedule? I don't know. What was the alternative? Or are they just damned no matter what happens? If we're talking about, because this is an organization that was down in the dumps, and they've tried to build it back up by drafting Drake May, by acquiring different players. They've tried to build it back up. So in an effort to build it back up, would it have been better to struggle and just not make waves with the strength of schedule? Because what happened was they made waves, they made noise, and now the narrative is, it was just the schedule. So would it have been better if they didn't put themselves in that position and just were okay against okay to below average competition? That doesn't make much sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I get the Patriots are the Patriots, and, they were just a dynasty, and now they're back in the Super Bowl, and people get in their feelings and whatever, fine. But I'm saying, I just feel like they should get more credit for doing what they did, finding ways to win and making it to the Super Bowl, right? That outweighs whatever skepticism you have because their schedule wasn't as good as it has been in years past. I don't understand that. I understand that it's Patriots hate, And that's what the country's going to do because of all the years of winning and all that and all those things. So you're gonna look towards the negative or wait a minute, what about this? Fine. I'm just saying they were way ahead of schedule. They found ways to win games and ended up in the Super Bowl. Way ahead of schedule. This isn't a team that had expectations and then they had that would be different, I feel like. If they had these awesome expectations of going to the Tom Brady level expectations, and then had an easy schedule and then benefited from the easy schedule by winning all these games but not looking as good as they should have looked or could have looked, then I understand some of that criticism more. Well, the Patriots weren't actually as good as you thought. It was the strength of schedule. Then I get it because they were supposed to be much better and they played down to the competition and this and that, and they benefited because other teams couldn't close them out, and they ended up in the Super Bowl and then they got exposed. But this team wasn't supposed to do anything, and they ended up in the Super Bowl. It's almost like, who cares how they ended up there? Who cares? Drake May turned himself into an MVP candidate. Who cares? As long as it wasn't against high school teams, it was against NFL teams. What does it matter? I feel like that's going to be they're going to have something to say about that, I feel like, early in the season, and that's going to be a statement that they make. And I look, like I said a little while ago, one really strong playoff game would have ended all of this. It didn't happen, and now these questions exist, and that's fine. But I don't think that was some type of fluke. I think they were legit. I think May was legit. I think their operation and the staff, their preparation is legit. And I think they're going to be good again because they've got players. And if you're one of those national media people that wants to just hide behind the schedule of last year and some of the struggles in the playoffs and whatever, go ahead. But I think there is just as many questions out there about some of these other teams, Chicago, Jacksonville, than the Patriots. The Patriots are going to be right there, and they answered way more questions than they needed to last year. Don't you forget that. I feel like people have forgotten that. 617-779-0985. Victor Wembanyama is different than Jason Tatum, and here's one glaring reason as to why. We're going to do that when we get back because I want to point that out. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hurry into the 99 restaurant this Friday through Sunday for their double bonus card special. For every $25 you purchase in gift cards, receive 2 $5 bonus cards. Offer valid in restaurant.
7 victory over the Thunder last night, and I think that right there, I'm not going to speak for Celtics players. I just think that is what's missing from the Celtics. I don't think that energy exists for the Boston Celtics. And I'm not saying that Jason Tatum doesn't want to win so bad. I'm not saying that. I just don't know if that energy is present. And if that energy is not present, how is anybody else able to feed off of it from the best player? We know Tatum's demeanor. It doesn't feel like that's what he permeates. I mean, I just don't feel that from Jason Tatum. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't feel that, but in order for others around him to feed off of it, that energy has to be palpable. And I don't think it is for Jason Tatum. For Wemby, I feel like it is just watching through the screen. Watching him, the way he moves, the way he's interacting with his teammates, how engaged he is, how animated he is, passionate, all of the above. I think that's been what has catapulted the Spurs to the top of the league, where they are now the favorites to win the NBA championship over a white-hot New York Knicks team. I can't wait for the series. I think look, as much as I hate the Knicks, I think it's good for the NBA when the Knicks are good. It's good for the league. And Brunson is awesome. I didn't think they'd be this good. I didn't think they would do what they're doing to some teams. I think they'll win some games. I think they'll be in it. As a matter of fact, I got to check that. I should know this. I apologize. Did the Knicks beat the Spurs to win that NBA tournament thing? The NBA Cup or whatever it's called? The NBA Cup. I'm going to look it up because I don't remember. Because I don't care about that. Yeah, the Knicks beat the Spurs. 124-113. So it's a rematch. Maybe the NBA Cup isn't useless. It's a rematch of the NBA Cup. Tells you what you need to know about the finals. But I just think that is the mentality that the Celtics don't have, as good as Tatum and Brown are. And, Jaylen Brown can do whatever he wants in his own time. So here's the problem. Again, Jaylen Brown can do whatever he wants in his own time, on his own time. Okay? But if you're not going to, if he's going to consider himself a leader of the Boston Celtics, and whether or not Tatum's there, he's a leader of the Celtics. He was a leader this whole time, this whole year. You need to, I think it would behoove you to appear like you're obsessed with working, with winning, and just basketball in general. And I don't think I get that vibe from Jaylen Brown. I don't think anybody does, because we all know he has other interests, outside interests. He likes other things. That's fine. But when you combine that with Tatum's ho-hum demeanor, I think something's missing. You got a guy that's interested in other things. You got Tatum that's kind of low-key. Where's the intensity? Where's the obsession? The obsessed passion with winning, with getting better, with getting the team to a place where they're championship. And this is an organization, a group that's won. But if they want to keep it going, I just think that's what it takes. You've got to be, we watched it for 20 years. I'm sorry. That's what we watched, Tom Brady. So, hey, look, the Knicks, legit. Everybody played in that game. Now, their starters were a little different. Harrison Barnes, Cornette started the NBA Cup championship game, but Wemby still played 25 minutes. They had all their guys in there, and the Knicks beat them. So, give the Knicks some props. That was a legit game, and they beat them in that game. Brunson had 25. Anunoby had 28. He went 5 for 10 from 3. So this is going to be a series. It's going to be a series. There's nobody on the Spurs that wasn't on that team that played in the Cup final, the NBA Cup final. They were all there. Didn't shoot it that great from 3 that night, so it could have just been one of those nights, except Dylan Harper went 5 for 7 from 3. He's a stud. Wemby 2 for 6. I mean, they were there. Those guys were there. So I think this is going to be a series, and the Knicks are going to get a little juice from winning that game. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But it's just something I don't think the Celtics have. That mentality, what Wembanyama said coming back from the break after the game last night, I don't think it's going to be the same. I don't think it is the same in Boston. And I think that's one of the things that's holding them back. In the regular season, if you were wondering, they split. The Knicks won the game at home, 114-89. And they lost in San Antonio. Doesn't appear like anybody was out. Significant players were missing that game. No. Full strength. They just beat the Knicks. This is going to be a series. The Knicks beat the Spurs 114-89 the last time they played. It's going to be a series, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I just think the Celtics, they just need to make those tweaks. Are they willing to do it? Do they know exactly what they need to do? I think they do. Can they pull it off? That's the question. Because that's the other problem. The regular season now is so useless in the NBA. Who gives a rip? You want to see your team, especially if you've got guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown playing multiple rounds in the playoffs, because that's the best basketball by far you're going to get. Whatever you get in the regular season, we know is just a facade. It's a mirage. It's not real. The playoffs are real, and you want more than one round, especially when you have stars to the level of Tatum and Brown. First team All-NBA, second team All-NBA types of players. I mean, if you go by All-NBA teams, Jaylen Brown's what? The second best player, American-born? Based on the All-NBA teams. So, I'm just saying, I don't think they have what the Spurs have right now. And I don't know if they'll ever have it, but if they get a better supporting cast, they will be at least able to compete and go from there. I think they were able to take advantage of Luka a couple years ago. Now it's about what happens with Wemby, SGA, and guys like that. Because they're going to come back. They're going to be back. You know, the Thunder will be back. The Spurs aren't going anywhere. As long as they have those guys were all just drafted. They're going to have Castle. They're going to have Harper. They're going to have Wemby for a long time. They're not going anywhere. And the Knicks have been around for a few seasons now as well. So Brunson, they haven't figured him out. That's why the Patriots are closer to a championship, in my opinion. 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
So Jeff, Megan Keller scored the golden goal. Okay, I should have.
I knew the name.
I remember the goal was nasty. I just forgot that was the girl. So I apologize. I should have known that. But I've got good news here, I think. So I tweeted. I've been doing this thing. I've been interested in. I've just been having some fun tweeting out on this day in May 31st, whatever year. Nomar Garciaparra hit a home run and I tweet the video of the home run from this day years ago. So today there wasn't much going on, so I tweeted out a video from 1989, May 31st, a man named Rick Cerrone, and I spelt his name wrong. 2 R's I put. There's only 1 R. I apologize, Rick. Rick Cerrone, who I've never heard of, hit a walk-off hit for the Red Sox, 1989, May 31st. I think Wade Boggs liked the tweet. So that's
Chicken Man?
It's a big deal. I think it's the legitimate Wade Boggs account.
It's like Chicken Man, whatever his numbers was. I forgot.
Is that his Twitter handle?
Yeah, Chicken Man.
Oh, then it's not him. Way to ruin it for me.
My bad.
Maybe it's the official fan page of Wade Boggs. That's pretty good that you knew off the top of your head Wade Boggs is... Yeah. Wait! It is Wade Boggs.
That's awesome.
It's the Chicken Man. I didn't realize it's at Chicken Man 3010 for his hits. He must have loved Rick Cerrone, my man. That's him. I guess he has 52.6. That's a legit amount of followers. It's got to be him. Wade Boggs, baby. 1988. He loved the Sox. Wade. Sox win today. I don't believe in them. I think they're... Look, it's nice to see the bats light up a little bit, but I got to see way more than this. Way more than this, Jeff. Joey's in Kingston. Hey, Joey.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
How you doing?
I think wasn't Cerrone? Wasn't he? He's a catcher, right?
You know what? I don't know if this tells you anything. He didn't have an ear flap on his helmet. I'll look it up. I never heard of him.
I just off the top of my head, but when you say Wade Boggs, I loved Wade Boggs.
Yes.
Chicken and beer.
Yep.
He could put the beers away too, man.
Rick Cerrone, catcher. Yep.
Okay.
Good
All right.
recall there.
All right. Yeah. No, I'm a little older than you, so just remember those days. Mark, when it comes to sports, you're pretty passionate about your sport. It's the Celtics that's your number one team, right, in this town?
Well, no. I would say the Patriots. Yeah. The Patriots are probably, I covered them. Right. I was a beat reporter for the Patriots. I probably know them best, so I would say the Patriots. But I do enjoy analyzing the Celtics very much.
Well, you're very passionate about basketball.
Yes,
that's why I was asking. But that guy Joe called in earlier, and he said something because with me it's the Patriots, and then and I agree with that guy Joe was saying. He kind of tipped me off on my way home from work, and then he's called himself a red team, and I'm like, okay, is that what we are? There's the green team, so I must be a red team. I know I'm a homie. I'm a Patriots homie, I guess you would call it that. But no, you're very passionate about your sports. That you come across well with that, and your '90s music.
Yes,
because you and Joe Murray were on a few weeks back, and boy, you impressed the hell out of me one Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I'm a music guy. I can't hang as much with the movie talk, but music. I mean, that's why Jeff, our producer here, we jive with some of the musical tastes. Yeah.
Yep, Jeff was a part of that day, too. I remember that. And I'm like, I'm stuck in the 80s, and I'm listening to you guys. I'm like, geez, these guys know their stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, so back to the Patriots.
Yep.
Because I'm in line with you, too. They're a legit team. There's, what other team out there is really a juggernaut? And they're legit. We got the quarterback. We got the coach. And by the way, my wife loves the coach. One thing she loves about Vrabel is how he is with the players on the team and how he reacts to them. Someone goes down on the field and he's out there. And she just has an appreciation for that. And when it comes to the other stuff going off the field, she could care less. And that's coming from a woman. But anyways, back to this team. One thing this team hasn't had in 16 years is a legit number one wide receiver. I think this team can hold their own on what they got. But A.J. Brown comes in here, and That's going to be a game changer. And like you said, and I'm a guy too that I'll see what this team really is once October begins, and we got a tough schedule coming up. But man, AJ Brown comes on, and I'm expecting big things. I really am.
Thanks, Joey, and so am I. I mean, this is a legit. I mean, think about it. When was the last time they had a number one wide receiver? Gronk? He's not even a wide receiver, obviously, but I'm talking about a number one pass catching option. I mean, wide receiver wise, in that mold, it's got to be Randy Moss. I'm not going to give you Brandon Cooks. Obviously, Edelman was awesome. I love Julian Edelman. But a number one wide receiver that had the size, he could play outside the numbers, he could go deep. I mean, Brown he's not as fast as he was, but he can get vertical. To me, he's more of a bigger, more impressive Keyshawn Johnson, and Keyshawn Johnson was good. But he can do things like Keyshawn, possession-wise, and win contested catches, but he can also get a little separation, get down the field, make a play down the field. On the outside. You pair him with an MVP-level quarterback, I'm sorry, that's a big deal. A big deal. And everybody's so wrapped into the damn schedule from last year. Okay? They're going to be better. Their offensive line is better. May is probably going to be better. Henderson, I think, could be better. Their secondary, adding a guy like Byard is going to help them probably be better. Maybe their defensive line will take a hit. They lose Kayvon Chason. We don't know who, could step into his role. We'll see. I still love Milton Williams. We'll see what happens with Christian Barmore. But, I don't know what Draymond Jones could offer them. If he could step in and be more versatile than Chason. Chason wasn't quite as versatile as some of the other, defensive ends we've seen come through the Patriots program. But I love Kevin Byard coming here. I don't care that he's a little older. I think it's a great addition. I'm not comparing the two, but Rodney Harrison was a little older when he came here. And when you've got an infrastructure in place and a roster in place where that guy doesn't have to be the centerpiece, the star, he can absolutely add some key value to this team. Will is in Boston. Hey, Will.
Hey, what's up, guys? I was just thinking, if you asked me 10 seconds left in the game, Game 7, you're down 1 point, who do you want taking the shot? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or Brunson? I'm taking Brunson. These guys, if the Celtics aren't up 10 with more than a minute left, I feel like we lose every single close game. That's coming down to the last shot. We never hit that last bucket. They settle for terrible shots, and I've seen Brunson time and time again get those clutch buckets. There's something missing with that killer factor, that killer instinct that I feel like those two guys just don't have, and I love them, but they don't have it. And I never have any faith if we're not up 20 points with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter that this game is done. Because if it does come down to a clutch shot, I feel like we lose every single one of those close games.
Well, Will, I've talked about this for years now, dating back to 2021, probably. You could go back into the archives when I was across the street or whatever. Yes, and it really hasn't gotten much better. The only time I thought it got better, and this is interesting, let's bring it forward to what we just watched. I thought when the Thunder played the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, and the conversation shifted early in that series to SGA and the flopping and the foul baiting and all those things, I thought it affected the Thunder. I thought it affected SGA. Now, he's such a great player, he was able to overcome it. But I think for a minute there, it rattled him, and it rattled the Thunder. And he stopped doing what he was doing. And he had to adjust on the fly because of everybody talking about it. And the refs were also impacted, and they took away the whistle. That favorable whistle he'd been getting, he didn't get it anymore. I thought the last time the Celtics really showed something was 2024 in the playoffs, when nationally that talk about their clutch ability became part of the focus. And guess what happened? They got better. It improved in that moment once it became part of the conversation because they addressed it. It felt like they addressed it. I don't think they address it enough, and I still think it's a huge problem because whether or not and I agree, Brunson is way more clutch. I'd rather have him. He strikes fear into me as somebody rooting against the Knicks when the game's late. That does not exist for the Boston Celtics. Facts. Not an opinion. That's a fact. People aren't scared of the Celtics late in games. And if they're not winning via the 3-point avalanche, and boy, do they look good when they do. If they're not winning via that avalanche of threes, they have a hard time because they're not used to playing that half-court style. They're not used to making those types of shots. They haven't prioritized the right things, and Joe Mazzulla has not fixed it. So, yeah, Brunson is more clutch. I haven't seen any reason to think Wembanyama's not going to be clutch. SGA has been clutch. SGA, they lost last night, but he was always SGA. Even when he was struggling, he was SGA. He was doing what SGA does. Jason Tatum has become a completely different person sometimes. And I think that's part of the difference that the Boston Celtics, they're still right there. Tatum and Brown, awesome. They need more help. They need to change some things, and they're right there. But they're still Tatum and Brown, and I would not separate them. If you want to get in a final word, 617-779-0985. Red Sox win again. We can touch on that. Mark Dondero, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Zoe, and you can design your dream outdoor space with Techo Block and South Shore Landscape Supply.
All right, back here, 98.5 The Sports. I'm Mark Dondero. Sox win again, two straight games of 9 runs. The Sox. Where are these bats coming from? Let's go. I don't buy them. Yeah. What would I need to see happen for me to buy into the Red Sox? Well, they are going to, beginning Tuesday, they're going to host the Orioles for 3. Okay? Then they've got 6 games after that, 3 in New York, 3 in Tampa. Okay? Now, their record is abysmal, but they are only, what are they, a couple games out of the wild card at this point. I mean, it's not insurmountable. There's a lot of teams in front of them. But right now they are, 3 games out of a wild card spot, even though there's a million teams in front of them. I guess if there's nothing they can do this season outside of ridiculousness in the playoffs, if they were to make it there, to allow me to buy in. But what I could do is I could be convinced to rent some belief. Does that make sense? I'm not going to buy anything where I would own it and own it forever because they haven't proven it to me. It's worth it. But if they found a way in the next month here, to win some of these series against some good teams, and again, I don't believe 2 games at Cleveland isn't going to do it for me. But if they found a way to win this series in New York, win a series against Tampa, get above 500, and then at the trade deadline, show some stones and actually make a move that speaks to me, I could be convinced to rent some belief the rest of the season. I will rent it. I will not buy it. Okay? In order to buy it, you need to show me more in an offseason. I need Craig Breslow to change his tone of voice, how he talks. I need John Henry to speak to the media, to show his face. I need way more to happen for me to actually buy in and believe. But if you show some balls and you can win some games and get above 500 and beat some good teams, stay in the picture and then do something at the deadline that is truly meaningful and impactful, that speaks to me, I could be convinced to rent some belief for the rest of the year. But ultimately, this does not do it, even though it was 2 wins with a lot of runs. 2 wins at Cleveland does not do it for me. I need way more than that based on where they've been in their leadership and everything going on at Fenway Park. So I'm not there yet. Good win. Okay. Good win. Looking forward to seeing some content from the softball game tonight. Is there any chance Ann Michael May doesn't win the MVP? I mean, you got to give it to her. I would just give it to her. She's the better half of the quarterback. MVP. Give it to her. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is going to be, those games are always fun. I think Joe should play, but I'm not in charge of that, obviously. Let's see if Joe can create any content. Maybe he's wheeling and dealing some card stuff down there, getting some autos.
Oh, he definitely has the card book there.
Yeah, I think he was at a show earlier today. By the way, I borrowed the, I don't think anybody noticed, which is fine, but I borrowed the Scott Zolak cards that are in the studio. I needed them for some content creation. I put them back. I brought them back. So Zoe, and it might have been because he was a backup for all those years behind Drew Bledsoe. I couldn't find a lot of Zoe cards. He had a few from back in the early. I didn't find one Zoe card with the Flying Elvis logo. Every card that he had was still the Pat Patriot. So you're going back 93. When did the Flying Elvis come in? 94? 93? Yeah, so it was probably the 92. It was a 93 Flair Ultra. So probably a photo from the 92 season when they were still wearing the Pat Patriot jerseys. And I get it. There's too many players in the NFL. You can't make a card for every guy on every roster. But I don't know. The Zoe? He had some moments. He played in the playoffs. You couldn't have made a few more cards for him. I don't like that. Why isn't Zoe playing in the game? I would have liked to see that.
It's up in New Hampshire, right?
No, it's in Worcester.
Oh, it's in
Polar
Worcester?
Park.
Yeah, sure, he could have went.
Polar Park. Great venue. Good thing for Worcester to host. McCone playing in this game? Why isn't McCone out there? He's a Worcester legend.
Peeking behind the bushes.
See, that's a misstep by the Patriots organization.